What would your advice be in terms of getting an internship? How would you advise someone?
Any sort of technical internship. It doesn't really matter if you're not doing outright mechanical engineering, but if you're doing some form of technical, even if it's computer based, just getting some industry experience. 9 out of 10 times, if I was going to a job interview, there would be somebody that was more qualified than me going for it. You don't have to be the most qualified person. I essentially left school with no qualifications. I had to go to college, do a national certificate. When I actually came into uni, that was a massive jump from not having a mathematical or physics background. And I've even studied like techie studies, so even looking at engineering drawings, I was like, whoa, what is this? So it took a lot of hard work and dedication.
Reese, thanks so much for wanting to do this. I know it can be a wee bit daunting, coming on a podcast, let alone speaking in front of students, but really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's all good. It's good to be back at Dundee, best university in Scotland, I believe.
Good man, absolutely. Yeah. Best in Dundee anyway.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. So let's start off. What initially sparked your interest in engineering?
In all honesty, I don't know about the rest of you guys. When I was at school, I wanted to be a footballer. And that's a pretty unrealistic goal if you think about it. So I was always more interested in physical education and PE, so I went more down that route of wanting to do, sports coaching, physical education, PE teaching. And then I got to 6th year of high school and just went, I don't want to be teaching badminton. Because I thought, when you're a PE teacher, you could just play football all day and teach people how to play football. But it's not like that. So I just kind of lost an interest in PE, and I went down that route. So I never really studied maths or physics or anything at all until I left school, and I essentially left school with no qualifications. I got a higher in PE, which was a C, and I got a D for higher computing. So I essentially left school with nothing. I had to go to college, do a national certificate. So it's like an entry course in accountancy, because there was nothing else. I was working at McDonald's, and my manager was like, "Oh, Reese, you're 18, aren't you?" I was like, "Yeah." She was like, "Great, you could do the night shift." So I just left school. It's like I had my manager at McDonald's saying, "You're about to be on night shift full time, 40 hours a week doing that," and I was like, "What's happened?" You go from this nice environment school, no troubles, to leaving school, and you kind of hit reality. And you do need jobs working at McDonald's. It's not like that, but you just when it hits you like that, you're like, I need to do something. So kind of done a bit of a backwards route. A lot of you guys, students, would have came in straight from university, from high school, which is great. So I had to pass that NC because I got rejected from the NC course because I'd never had maths or physics. Passed the accountancy course. Got into HNC engineering systems, eventually passed that. Well, it took 1 year, and then around Christmas time during my course, applied to university here, and then joined Dundee Uni. So I'd probably say the spark to interest was oil and gas. My mum lives up north in Peterhead, and she was a recruitment consultant for oil and gas industry. And she was basically explaining the importance of these jobs, and you'll always be in a job. I mean, the market's hot and cold. Sometimes there'll be booms, there'll be bad spells, but these jobs are imperative essentially. So it was more to get into the oil and gas sector. And I knew a lot of people that done the HNC at Dundee, and they basically had a company called Schlumberger that came in, and if you'd passed, you'd probably get a good job with Schlumberger at the end of it. When I started that stopped, so that's why I decided to go to uni, and I had a lot of people saying, go to uni, it'll be good for you. And so essentially I just kind of fell into doing engineering because I wanted to work in the oil and gas industry.
Good, that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I've interviewed quite a few guests who have started at NC, and I don't say it just because you're sitting in front of me, but like, hats off to you for that. Like, that's that's serious grind. To actually to go from NC into HNC and then into university. That's a real. You must have had something that you had a focus, or something must have clicked to kind of pivot to a focus.
Yeah, I'd probably say probably from coming, I don't know, maybe it's not because I'm from Dundee, but I had parents, my dad, grandparents are always saying to you, look, you need to have something, you need to have a drive, or you'll just float through life, is essentially. And when I think even when you leave school, you've not really got an idea what you want to do. 16, 18, you're just learning how to drive, you're just leaving. You've basically, one month you're asking a teacher, excuse me, can I go to the toilet? And then the next month after, you're out. You need to, if you don't have, like, if you get chucked out your house, let's just say, then you've got to go and find a place to stay, pay council tax. You're an adult. It just, like, as this is saying, life does come at you hard. So I just kept going and persevering. But when I actually came into uni, that was a massive jump from not having a mathematical or physics background, and I've even studied like techie studies. So even looking at engineering drawings, I was like, whoa, what is this? So it took a lot of hard work and dedication. And I don't know the range of years who's here today. Is anybody here for their fourth year? Yeah. So when I was in first year, I failed a couple of exams, carried them over, and then again, eventually got into second year, and that's when it clicked. I'd just focused and studied, paid for a private tutor out my own wages. Got a private tutor who massively helped. I think that's one of the questions, so I'll talk about it later. But I actually failed second year. Not failed it, I passed 5 out of 8 modules, so I couldn't progress. And again, that was tough because I had to go get a full-time job in a company where you couldn't really progress. It was minimum wage. There was no career prospects of growing within the company, and then that was probably the main hit in the head when I was like, I can never allow this to happen again. So just like advice, you might want to go out with your mates around the exam period, but if I can be honest, if you're struggling, the university will help, but just make sure you study and pass your exams, and if there's something you don't understand, just get the help. The university have got loads of people to help you, so just try and pass so you don't have to be. I wouldn't want the position that I was in for anybody having to resit, because there is obviously that human factor where you see other people you started with progressing, and then obviously you think that you're falling behind, where at the end of the day, it's not that big a deal. You're having to reset. It's not great, but it's a year where you could have been with the students that you started with, because then you've got to fall back, and it's what happened, and it's like, so it's nobody else's fault. It's just it clicked for me later. So yeah, we just say keep progressing. Uni is going to get tough. It will be tough, but just keep studying and progressing, and you'll be all right.
That's invaluable advice. I think you've shared there, and I think sometimes when you've went through it, you realise it, and then you can share it. So think of university as a whole. When you were here studying your BEng, what stood out in terms of what you enjoyed studying? Was there anything that you began to see? I want to be, maybe my career to be in that area of mechanical engineering.
Yeah, I enjoyed doing the CFD and ANSYS and simulations, which is quite unpopular.
You've just completely debunked what I just said. I go with the complex engineering. Straight to the hard stuff then. Yeah,
I like that. That was good. I wasn't a big fan of SolidWorks and CAD, but now, like for the company I work for now, as a project engineer, they'll get sent over an engineering drawing, and what will happen is you'll mark it up, so you'll leave comments, etc., and then you'll send it over to India, because a lot of the work now for CAD engineers is getting outsourced over to countries like India. So that works for me. I'm not having to sit on SolidWorks. I just never really had an interest in it. So yeah, I'd probably say CFD, and I liked solid mechanics. Solid mechanics was good. The subject probably least favourite was fluid mechanics. Probably the least enjoyable, but yeah, probably solid mechanics and ANSYS modules, CFD. And
then what made you go into industrial management in terms of your masters? Was that the natural progression, or was there a conscious decision to pick that?
So when
for your fifth year?
Yeah, So when I'd finished university, it was the Bachelor's Engineering Honours. It was 2021. So that was during COVID. So there was really, the world was kind of at a standstill. There was not a lot of opportunity. And then I seen Jan's course, and because I had already went to Dundee University, there was basically you would be offered like a discount as like a loyalty. And one of the main things that it did teach me is how important it is to do an internship, because at uni, because most people are young, everybody's like, 4 or 5 months off, whatever. But if I could recommend something as well, it'd be reaching out to companies like NCR, Dover. They're just off the top of my head. Try and get an internship, even if it's just one. I mean, if you're at university for 4 years, just one of the summers, just do an internship. Alternatively, if you just want to enjoy your summers, I would suggest go and do the masters, because it gives you a masters as well. And as it's a trimester, one of your semesters that you have to do is a 12-week internship. So you'll gain valuable industry experience, which will set you up, because you'll be shocked when you go into an industry, because it's nothing like university. It's real work.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah,
I kind of harp on quite a bit about internships, work placements, experience, whether it's a day or whether it's a week or whether it's getting your 8 to 12 weeks in the summer. So take us to the masters then. Where did you do your kind of like, was it a sandwich, or was it like the kind of sandwich course, or was it like after you completed the first 2 trimesters you went into doing your kind of industrial placement?
Yeah, so you could either start in the September or January. So it was the kind of April to July period. So the kind of that period is when I started my internship.
Brilliant. And
it was with Rothermead. But I think the university still do some placements with them in third year. I think there's like one of the modules you do, you have to go to an industry placement. So I think that's where I met them. And
if you were to give one bit of advice to the students today on seeking that internship that's maybe not baked into your course, what would it be? What would your advice be in terms of getting an internship? How would you advise someone?
Well, if you're doing engineering, then I guess any sort of technical internship, it doesn't really matter if you're not doing outright mechanical engineering, but if you're doing some form of technical, even if it's computer based, just getting some industry experience, because it shows to a future employer that you're taking that extra step to go. It shows that you're interested. When you go for like a job interview, 9 out of 10 times, if I was going to a job interview, there would be somebody that was more qualified than me going for it. You don't have to be the most qualified person. You just need to show on your CV that you're motivated and that you're interested. And when you go for the interview, you've just kind of got to sell and just say, look, just be honest. And that's probably bad. But just be honest. Your best advice. Don't try and fool anybody, because there's a lot of smart people in industry, and if you say you know it all, you'll be filmed out in it, and it just doesn't go in your favour.
So talk us through post-university. You graduated. What was the first step after graduating?
So after graduating from the masters, I got a job at a machining firm, CNC machining firm, at Quest Precision Engineering. I knew the operations manager, so he managed to get me in, because after I finished, I went to Asia and Australia for a bit of a gap year.
So to answer, I've got a question around that, because I know there's someone that asked me this question earlier on in the week. What advice would you give to someone that's interested in going travelling then? What was the benefits for you?
I think it was probably, I think at uni you think you're stressed, so you just want to go gain some life experience, but I kind of always wanted to go to Australia, and it's, a usual route would be do university, then you go straight into a job. But if COVID hadn't have happened, I think what I would have done would have been my 4 years, went away travelling, and then came back and done the masters. So I would have taken a year out before doing the masters. But it was probably just for more life experience and having I've got family out there as well.
Brilliant.
So that's probably, that was it. Just a bit of life experience and just chilling out and not having to think about much.
I think it's good.
Yeah,
I definitely think it's something worthwhile doing if you have the opportunity to do it, because sometimes it can be quite difficult to see fitting that in once you start a job or getting down the line almost. So no, that sounds amazing. So back into engineering then. So you came back and you started with NCR. Talk me through that role before then moving on to oceaneering.
With NCR, they're it's a brilliant company worldwide. They've been on the go for probably about 100 years, maybe longer. But again, I took that role on like the premise that it was going to be like a technical project manager's role, where I think when you get into industry, especially with like American firms, they've got all these big fancy titles, but it doesn't really mean much. So essentially, the job was a very important role, but it wasn't doing anything engineering wise. So that I then had to move on to oceaneering, because I could have stayed within NCR and got an internal transfer, which was the plan, to do an engineering role. But by the time I was applying for internal transfer, oceaneering opportunity had already came up. So then I decided to go for oceaneering, just because it's oil and gas and it was going to be proper engineering that I was doing.
Right, the floor's yours then. Tell us some of the proper engineering you've been doing at oceaneering then.
Let's
get the engineering juices going.
So I've been at oceaneering now for over a year. Is anybody here familiar with oceaneering at all?
Show of hands, anyone know of oceaneering?
Nah.
Right. Sales pitch as well, even better.
So well, if you can give them, have a look at them online, but probably see if they could do an industrial seminar for Dundee Uni. It shouldn't be an issue. But at Rosyth, so I'm based in Rosyth, which is just before the bridge at Edinburgh. Oceaneering and Rosyth focus on subsea umbilicals. So umbilical is a subsea cable. So they could be steel. It's like a cable that has bundled together with electrical cables, thermoplastic hoses, steel tubes, or optical cables. It's essentially to be subsea, and it's got a variety of purposes depending on what cables you choose. But within that, there's a lot of engineering that goes into designing these engineering cables. And my role now as a project engineer, it's quite a big jump. You've got to know, you have to know so much. But the good thing is at oceaneering, there's a lot of people there that help you. So for example, if I'm looking at an engineering drawing, and they've got welding symbols on them, I'm not familiar with that. So there's people there that'll help you, which is good. So my current project is working with Subsea 7, who are here next week. So the end client is Serica, who have an oil field out in the North Sea, and they've hired Subsea 7 to do some work for them, and then Subsea 7 have then, probably the best way to explain it, is subcontracted us out to do the subsea cabling. So you learn so much, and you work with a lot of engineers, so your knowledge will then grow. If you're uncertain about something or a question's been asked, you get on the phone to an engineer from Subsea 7 and you have a discussion and they help you. So the knowledge is always kind of going around in a circle, That
sounds good.
That's quite good.
And in terms of the projects you've worked on so far since being at oceaneering, is there anything that stands out?
Well, the only project I've worked on as the project engineer will be the one I'm working on just now. But prior to that, I was just doing little bits. I was just helping out engineers that are very busy, because some projects you'll work on are worth £50 million. But mine's only worth about 5 million. So there'll be engineers that are very busy. So they'll ask you to just do some important stuff, but they've not really got the time to do it. So
I think you've kind of set me up nicely for a question that I tend to get asked a lot. So I'm going to ask you how, in terms of evidence. I don't know. No one's asked this question yet, but I'm going to guess that someone may ask this. You join industry. You've left university. How do you know how to do the job? What kind of support do you get?
I think I seen somewhere on LinkedIn the other day about that. Is you'll have a lot of people from that I'll finish doing engineering roles like at university. And at university, when you're doing your equations, you're kind of only getting taught your equations to answer that exam. So you're basically preparing yourself to pass that exam. But when you go to the real life industrial problems, you'll find that you still need to apply what you've learned, but in a different manner. So your support network there will be the more experienced people. Because every day I'm asking questions. Every day, if I've got to do 5 tasks, I'll have to get 5 tasks checked and approved. And then once they've been checked and approved, they get checked and approved again by Subsea 7, then again by Serica. So I could get essentially, let's just say 10 questions back on work that I've submitted, and 9 out of 10 times I'll not have the answers because I'm new. Yeah. Probably for my role, I think they say to be competent, it takes around 2 years. So it's basically about passing down the information. But then you'll get people that have just naturally got it, that are more intelligent than me, and they just understand it a lot better. Where I like to ask questions and make sure I'm 100%. So
having that support networks, it's fundamental, but I think it's also reassuring to everyone in the room who's going to be seeking jobs over the coming years that support is there. It's just hard to believe it until you get it, I guess. And you don't see it in front of you at the moment. In terms of role models in the workplace, or not even the workplace, role models in general, who's been a role model or a mentor to you? And a bit of context, the reason I asked this of all my guests is, again, there's people who support you in your career, and it's important that those who are entering the engineering industry recognise that there'll be people in your own circle, but also maybe not in your circle yet, that are going to help you out. So over to you, Reese. Who's been a key role model or mentor in your career so far?
Yeah, probably in getting to the career, it would have been the private tutor that I had at Dundee. He helped me quite a lot and explained stuff. He was from Portugal, and he was family man. He had kids, etc. He's now in his 50s, but he really helped. Don't know if I would have passed university without him. Probably not. But no, I would say in terms of getting to a job, yeah, definitely him. Then now currently would be my mentor at Oceaneering. Because he's been there for so many years, and then it's different. Every engineer likes stuff they're done their own way, but he's very, he likes it done its own way. So there might be some stuff I think's not really that important, like does it actually matter that much? But then if you look at it and take his advice at the end, you're like, no, that actually does look better. So I guess if somebody is giving you the good advice, it's best to take it. If you're not 100%, if somebody who's been there for years is telling you how to do something, take it on board. Unless you're being assigned to improve, like research and development, improve this idea. If somebody's telling you how to do something, just take it on board and that. But yeah, I'd say my mentor right now. But at Oceaneering, there's probably the same amount of mentors as there is non-senior, but every single one of them help you. So they're all helping me learn, really, essentially. So that's probably all of them.
You mentioned kind of setbacks already, or setbacks that you've had, that you've kind of came through. What would you say is the kind of key characteristic that you would say that you feel that you showed through any of the setbacks in your career so far?
Probably grit and determination, just not to give up. There's probably no point if you're in third year university and it's going all wrong. There's probably no point in just giving up because times have got a bit hard. Yeah, it's probably perseverance, probably the key one. Yeah, persevere, just keep going. It might be bad, but it's never as bad as you think.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Good advice. Get in the library and do a bit of grind.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's questions opened up in the question answer on the portal. Does anyone have any questions they'd like to ask at the moment of Reese before we move on to the kind of back end of the questions? Yeah, that's all good. Mm-hmm. So moving on into, what advice would you give to a student in here today? Someone who is looking at their career, whether they're in 4th year or 5th year, or whether they're starting off. So let's just starting off. So in 1st year, 2nd year, what advice would you be given to someone at the early stages of their engineering degree at the moment?
Yeah, just make sure you pass the first 2 years. Hey, just make sure you study and pass. Even if you only, I think per semester, this is the second semester. If you're in first year, you probably only have 2 exams. Even if you just studied each day for 1 hour, it's going to be 10 hours per week for both of them. Just make sure that you study and pass. And if something you don't understand, just always ask. Because even in the workplace or at university, if you don't ask, people will not help you. You've just got to be open and honest. Say, look, I'm not understanding this, and then people help you. And then once somebody shows you how to do something, it'll really help you. But yeah, just definitely study. Don't take it for granted that you think you know it. Just study, do the tutorials. Just learn from somebody that's been there. Just make sure that you work hard and pass. And if you don't pass and you've worked hard, then that's unfortunate. But then you just go and make sure that you smash the reset. It's not the end of the world if you fail an exam, but just try and make sure that you're not in that situation, because again, it's just additional stress. And if you want to have a good summer, etc., and not worry about resets, then just definitely make sure that you study hard and ask. The key is just ask if you're struggling.
Yeah, I think one of it's really good points you make there, and I think that what's important to emphasise is the reason that we ask these questions and we give these types of answers for or advice just is that it is hard.
Yeah.
It's the easy thing is to not. Mm-hmm. The easy thing is to do the thing you probably enjoy doing more. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I say at the moment to students when we're talking about whether it's at the front end of university or the back end is like trying to think of those 3, no matter what year you're in, and it actually is harder when you're at the start of university, but think of these 3 key areas and allocate time to it. So 1, your university, which is your studies, which is turning up today, going to your lectures, allocating time to tutorials. The middle one is trying to think about where you want to go. So that means your kind of networking, your events, building a LinkedIn, building your circle of who you maybe know within industry, engaging with engineering career. And then number 3 is your social life, because it's key. Like, you take social life out of it, you could overload yourself. Take university out of it, you're going to do too much social life. So there's this balance between the 3 of them that you need to try and just balance between them, but just being conscious of the 3 of them and allocating the right time will give you this nice cocktail while you're going through university, regardless if it's first or 4th or 5th year. So then what about 4th and 5th year then? What advice would you give to a student in the room just now who's maybe thinking about the first job, looking at job applications? What advice would you give to those at the latter half of university?
Yeah, just maybe think what you want to do. If travelling is something you want to do, I would suggest doing some travel. If you don't want to travel, you don't necessarily have to go get an engineering job straight away. You could take a year out and just not do anything in the engineering world. Just I don't know, just think about taking some time out, relax, and then think about what you want to do next, if it's going to be a master's or getting a job. But yeah, that's probably a hard question. Yeah. Yes, I think everybody's different. So yeah, just don't listen to anybody else. Don't have somebody saying you must do this, you must do that, because it's your life at the end of the day. Probably say one. I mean, I don't mean to sound like a preacher or anything, but I think the main thing you want to be is just is be happy, and that's probably the main thing. If you've passed university, you've done it. It doesn't matter if you do engineering or not. If you've got an engineering degree, whether it's 4 years or 5 years, you can do anything you want, because you've got that mindset, and it's a hard degree to get. So once you have that mindset of passing a really tough degree, you might go into a different field, accountancy, finance. It doesn't matter. Like the world is your oyster essentially, because you've got that piece of paper now. But yeah, I would say have just do what makes you happy at the end of the day. Yeah.
For a hard question, I think you answered it very well. I think absolutely invaluable advice. Cut out all the other stuff. Be happy. Find out what makes you happy. Like you said, I think that is the most important thing. Hopefully, by the time you get to the end of it, you're looking to be in engineering. But wherever the route's going to take you, it's all about just being that kind of conscious way, thinking about it, like you said. Thinking what makes you happy. Think about where you want to go to, and trying to do it before you get to the very end. I think that's kind of a wee bit of advice. Maybe not wait until your end of Aprils and Mays. And I know that's hard. That's really hard. Graduate schemes open just now. You're studying just now. That's a tough time to be balancing the two. But try and being aware and conscious of where you want to go to before the end of your studies is going to put you in a better position. So let's talk about the bigger world of engineering then. What excites you in the world of engineering? It doesn't have to be within your current job role. It doesn't have to be within mechanical engineering. What excites you about engineering kind of more widely?
Yeah, probably just the freedom that allows you to have, because with the degree and the work experience, it allows you to travel anywhere and get a career anywhere in the world. So it's probably more so that freedom that allows you to have. In terms of what I want to do next in engineering, I'm uncertain, because I've only just recently started in Rosyth and Oceaneering doing subsea, so maybe progress within that company, go to a different sector, because they do like ROVs, etc. in Norway, so there could be other areas of the company that I could try and learn and get some experience in. But yeah, probably for the time being, just to learn and take as much I can get out of Oceaneering and Rosyth and see what happens, try and progress.
And have you thought about any professional goals kind of longer term in the future? Is there anything that comes to mind? Yeah,
probably will aim and start making steps to becoming chartered with IMechE. That's probably the next professional, because Oceaneering, the job I'm doing, it allows you to make these steps, and the head of global engineering at Oceaneering, he's provided me his form, his registration form and his personal statement and that he had to make. So all this stuff's relevant and can allow you to become chartered. So that'd probably be the next step for me. But I don't know when I'll start doing that.
There's no rush. There's the kind of probably the theme that probably comes across for me is being conscious of it and being aware of it. Doesn't mean you have to do it immediately, but having it as a conscious goal going forward means that you can explain why you want to do it like you just did. I think that's a strong position to be in. What keeps you passionate about engineering?
Probably just every day is a school day. Well, it is for me. It feels like you're always getting asked. You're always asking questions, and you're always learning something new every day. There'll be topics that you've not really studied at university. Then there'll be a part of your job that you've been asked a question from a client, and then you'll have to go research that and then provide the right answer. So it's probably just that continuous learning is probably what keeps you passionate and driven. If you were doing probably the same thing in week out, you can maybe lose a bit of drive. I've worked in those type of jobs before, but with this job, it's always like exciting. Sometimes it's not good because it's tough, but yeah, the good days are worth it, I guess. So yeah, just the continuous learning is probably the best thing that keeps you passionate about the engineering.
Well, brilliant. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, and all the best for the future and hitting the